The soft chime of the bell above the door of Ethereal Dreams Boutique marked the end of another busy day. Yin exhaled deeply, her gaze sweeping over the rows of dresses she had designed herself. At just 25, she had already built a fashion business well known across Korea. But her brief moment of calm was cut short when her phone rang. Yin, come home now. We need to talk. Her father's voice sounded serious on the other end. What is it, Dad? I still have a fitting with a client this afternoon. Cancel it. This is important. The tone in his voice left no room for argument. Yin sighed. She already knew that kind of tone meant there was family business to discuss. Sit down, sweetheart, her mother said with a smile that seemed forced. Yin sat carefully, looking between her parents. What's going on? Her father cleared his throat. Yin, I know you're grown and independent, but I think it's time you had someone by your side. Dad, Yin already guessed where this was headed. I've discussed this with Uncle Jian. We've agreed to arrange your marriage to Jungkook. Yin felt the world spin. Jungkook, she shouted, springing to her feet. Jian Jungkook, my rival in high school? Exactly, her father replied calmly. You're both unmarried, both focused on business. This will benefit both families. Yin knew what benefit both families really meant. Behind their legal enterprises, her family and the Jians ran an intricate underground network. This marriage wasn't about love, it was about alliance. But Dad, we never got along. We were always competing, always fighting. Yin protested. That's precisely why, her mother added. You both have strong personalities. You'll complement each other. Yin sank back into her seat, defeated. Her thoughts wandered back to high school, when she and Jungkook constantly fought for first place. Jungkook, with his cold bad boy charm and genius mind. Yin, with her determination and intelligence. They never saw eye to eye. 3 weeks later, Yin stood before the mirror in the makeup room of the Grand Jian Hotel, owned by her soon-to-be husband's family. The wedding dress she had designed herself fit perfectly, but her reflection did not show the joy of a bride. Am I crazy for going through with this? She muttered at her reflection. The door suddenly opened, revealing a beautiful, long-haired girl with a bright, familiar smile. Yin, the girl cried, rushing forward to hug her. Yuju, Yin's eyes widened. Oh my gosh, when did you get back from France? Yuju was Yin's high school best friend and Jungkook's cousin. The three of them had once shared a classroom. A week ago, I came back just for your wedding. Yuju beamed. Who would have thought? You two hated each other, and now you're getting married. Yin forced a bitter smile. Don't remind me. Oh, come on. My cousin's actually a good guy. He's just cold on the outside but soft inside. Yuju winked. Besides, you two fought all the time. People say that means there's chemistry. Chemistry? My foot. Yin shook her head. This is an arranged marriage, Yuju. Well, that's not unusual in our families. Look at Jungkook's parents. They're happier than ever. Yin stayed silent. Yuju wasn't wrong, but still. Anyway, you look stunning. Jungkook won't know what hit him. Yuju pinched Yin's cheek playfully. I'm sure you'll be happy. I'm just glad I get to see you again. I've missed our old talks. I've missed you too, Yuju. We need to meet often after this. Are you going back to France? Nope. I'm planning to settle in Seoul and open my own restaurant. A knock at the door interrupted them. Miss Yin, it's time, the wedding coordinator called. Yuju patted Yin's shoulder. Fighting, who knows, maybe Jungkook's a lot sweeter now. Yin managed a faint smile. I doubt it. The wedding unfolded in grand fashion. Guests from both families arrived in their finest attire, while black-suited bodyguards guarded every corner of the opulent ballroom. As Yin walked down the aisle, her eyes met Jungkook standing handsome in a white tuxedo. His face was the same as ever, cold, unreadable. His neatly styled black hair, sharp jawline, and dark eyes carried the same competitive glint she remembered. Beautiful, Jungkook whispered when she reached his side, though his tone was flat and emotionless. Thank you, Yin replied curtly. Throughout the ceremony, they both smiled, fake smiles for the sake of their families and the guests. When asked to kiss, their lips merely brushed, cold and detached. Congratulations to the newlyweds, the MC cheered, clapping enthusiastically. The guests roared with applause, unaware that the bride and groom before them were bound not by love, but by duty. That night, the Seoul air was cold, but not as cold as the atmosphere surrounding Jungkook's mansion. The grand building stood in the heart of Gangnam's elite district, hidden behind towering walls and an iron gate that only opened with a special code. Soft white gold exterior lights trace the sharp lines of its modern minimalist architecture, creating a sense of rigidity and chill, perfectly reflecting its owner. When Jungkook's black car rolled to a stop in the front courtyard, Mrs. Kim, the head housekeeper who had loyally served the Jeon family for more than 2 decades, was already waiting politely. "Welcome to your new home, ma'am," she greeted with a warm smile, a stark contrast to the cold feel of the mansion. Yin nodded slightly, her eyes sweeping over the interior as she stepped inside. The living room felt like an unfamiliar world, with gleaming black leather sofas, a cold gray marble table, shelves lined neatly without a single personal touch, and abstract monochrome paintings whose meaning she couldn't even guess. No fresh flowers, no soft pastel rugs, no warm scent of home. Everything was stiff, expensive, and cold. "This feels like living in a museum," Yin muttered under her breath. "What?" Jungkook's voice came from behind her. Yin quickly turned around, slightly startled. "Nothing," she replied swiftly, lowering her gaze. Jungkook merely let out a quiet scoff, uninterested in pursuing the comment, but the brief glint in his eyes showed he had heard it clearly. They climbed the staircase to the second floor. With a push of the door, the master bedroom opened up. Just as Yin expected, the room was no less stiff and cold than the living room, a perfect reflection of Jungkook himself. "You can redecorate this room however you want," Jungkook said flatly as he removed his jacket suit and placed it on a chair. "No need," Yin replied curtly as she unzipped her suitcase. She placed a few clothes into the large, nearly empty wardrobe, deliberately refusing to add any personal touch. "You sleep on the left, I'll take the right," Jungkook said while loosening his tie, his tone more like issuing a business instruction than speaking to a wife. "All right," Yin answered briefly without looking at him. That first night passed in silence. No conversation, no laughter, no touch. The lights were turned off, leaving only a dim glow seeping through the balcony curtains. They lay back to back, the space between them as wide as an ocean. Even their breathing seemed restrained, as though they were trying not to be heard by each other. The days that followed flowed with a monotonous, almost mechanical rhythm. Each morning, the aroma of coffee and toast filled the long dining room with its glossy dark wood table, yet there was no warmth to be found. Jungkook always sat at one end, Yin at the other, the distance between them more than enough to make conversation feel awkward. Jungkook left early every morning to handle the complexities of the family business, while Yin went to her boutique. They rarely saw each other except at breakfast and dinner, and even then, the silence was suffocating. Occasionally, they exchanged words, but only out of necessity. "Could you pass the salt?" Jungkook asked without looking up from his tablet. "Here," Yin replied, handing him the salt shaker. "Thanks." And that was it. No small talk about their day, no questions, no genuine smiles. Even the clink of silverware against porcelain sounded louder than their voices. Behind their blank expressions, both of them knew the truth. This wasn't an ordinary marriage. It was an alliance between two powerful families, and they were merely chess pieces forced to move on the same board. On a bright Saturday morning, Yin was sorting through the new collection at her boutique when her phone rang. "Yin, are you busy today?" Yuju's cheerful voice came through the line. Not really. What's up?" "Let's meet up. I miss you so much." Yin smiled, her first genuine smile since 2 weeks of dull, lifeless marriage. "Sure. Where?" "Our usual hangout spot. I'll wait for you at the food court at 2. Yin eventually left her boutique in the care of several employees. When she met Yuju, they hugged tightly as if they hadn't seen each other in years. "Wow, you're even prettier now. No wonder Jungkook agreed to marry you right away," Yuju teased, pinching Yin's cheek. "Don't start," Yin pouted. "What about you? Got a boyfriend yet?" "Don't even ask." Yuju shook her head dramatically. "That's why I came back from Paris. I'm tired of being single." They spent the afternoon shopping and chatting about old times. Yin felt like a carefree high school girl again. "Hey, I want to take you somewhere," Yuju suddenly said, eyes sparkling. "Where to?" "You'll be surprised. Just trust me." Yuju dragged Yin to a small alley on the outskirts of Seoul. They stopped in front of a shabby little shop with a faded sign, "Accurate fortune-telling, Grandma Youngja." "Yuju, don't tell me." Yin stared at the door in horror. "Yep, we're getting our fortunes told." Yuju grabbed Yin's hand enthusiastically. "You're crazy. I don't believe in that stuff." "Come on, Grandma Youngja is famous. Her predictions are always spot on. So many of my friends have come here, and everything she said came true." Although Yin strongly resisted, she was eventually pulled inside. The room's interior was simple, filled with the pungent scent of incense. An elderly woman, around 70, sat behind a wooden table with tarot cards and tiny crystals laid out. Yin started to get goosebumps. The atmosphere in the room felt completely different. The air was thick with incense, and strange charms crowded the space. "Welcome, children," the old woman said with a warm smile. "Who wants to have their fortune told first?" "Me, Grandma." Yuju eagerly held out her palm. The fortune teller took Yuju's hand, closed her eyes, and murmured, "You have a talent for culinary arts. Your restaurant business will flourish." Yuju and Yin exchanged shocked looks. Yuju had never mentioned her restaurant plans to her. "But," Grandma Yunja continued, "you'll face problems in love. To ward off this bad luck, you must feed orphans every Sunday for 3 months. Bring food from your restaurant to any orphanage. Follow your heart." "Of course, Grandma, I'll do it." Yuju nodded excitedly. Yin, growing impatient, tugged Yuju's arm. "Yuju, let's go." "Wait, you need your fortune told too." "I don't want to. Your boutique will grow tremendously," Grandma Youngja interrupted with a mysterious smile at Yin. Yin froze. She hadn't mentioned anything about her boutique. "Sit down, dear," the old woman said, still smiling mysteriously. With mixed feelings of curiosity and fear, Yin extended her hand. The wrinkled fingers felt cold against her skin. Grandma Youngja studied the lines carefully, occasionally muttering softly. Suddenly, she chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down Yin's and Yuju's spines. "How interesting," the old woman whispered. "Tonight, do something you've always wanted to do every night, but still haven't done." Yin and Yuju exchanged confused glances. "What do you mean, Grandma?" Yin asked. "Tonight, do something you've always wanted to do every night, but still haven't done." Grandma Youngja only smiled knowingly, repeating the same words without further explanation. Outside, Yin and Yuju were still baffled by the strange fortune. What could that even mean? Yin scratched her head. "No idea, but that grandma is legit. She knew about my restaurant and your boutique without us saying a word." Yuju bit her lip. "Maybe you should try doing what she said?" "But I don't even understand what she meant." "Maybe binge watch dramas all night," Yuju laughed, "or have midnight ice cream, or sleep cuddling with Jungkook," she teased, nudging Yin. "Yeah, don't be ridiculous." Yin's face flushed bright red. "We haven't even touched each other." "Wow, that bad? Are you guys husband and wife or just roommates?" Yin could only sigh. Yuju wasn't wrong. Their marriage felt more like a business contract than a real home. When Yin arrived at the mansion, it was still late afternoon. Jungkook hadn't come home yet, as usual. Yin went up to the bedroom and lay on the bed, her mind replaying the old woman's words. "Something I want to do every night." Suddenly, her heart skipped a beat. Deep down, she knew the answer. Every night, when she saw Jungkook come home exhausted, she actually wanted to cook for him. She wanted to welcome her husband with a warm homemade meal, just like any other wife would. But her pride always got in the way. Their cold relationship made her reluctant to do anything like that for Jungkook, even though he was now her husband. The clock struck 6. Jungkook usually came home at 7. Yin got up from the bed with a restless feeling. "All right," she muttered, "just this once." Yin went downstairs to the kitchen, her steps hesitant. The maids were busy preparing dinner as usual. "Mrs. Kim," Yin called to the head housekeeper. "Yes, ma'am." "Could you leave the kitchen for now?" Mrs. Kim and the other maids exchanged confused glances. "But ma'am, we're in the middle of preparing dinner." "Let me handle dinner tonight." "But ma'am." "Please," Yin cut her off more firmly. "You can take a break or tend to something else." Though still puzzled, the maids eventually left, leaving Yin alone in the kitchen. She looked around the luxurious kitchen with its complete set of equipment. It had been so long since she last cooked. Ever since the wedding, the household staff had handled everything. She opened the refrigerator and saw an array of fresh ingredients. Her hands moved automatically, picking up beef, vegetables, and seasonings. In her head, she planned the menu: bulgogi, kimchi jjigae, and japchae, simple, homey dishes. An hour later, the delicious aroma filled the kitchen. Yin carefully set the food on the dining table, lighting small candles to add a warmer touch. She sat alone at the table, staring blankly at the meal she had prepared. Her expression was flat, almost in disbelief that she had actually done this. "Am I really doing this just because of that weird fortune?" she murmured. The sound of the front door opening signaled Jungkook's arrival. His heavy footsteps echoed closer to the dining room. Jungkook stopped at the doorway, his eyes widening at the sight of Yin sitting alone at the table, with food that clearly looked different from the usual. "Yin?" he asked, his tone tinged with surprise. Yin looked up, forcing a small smile. "You're home. Come, have dinner." Jungkook slowly approached, his eyes fixed on Yin and the food on the table. "You cooked all this?" Yin nodded awkwardly. Jungkook sat down across from her. The air was tense. This was the first time they'd had dinner together with food Yin had cooked herself. He picked up his chopsticks and tasted the bulgogi. His eyes widened slightly. "It's good," Jungkook murmured. Yin looked up. "What?" "You're cooking. It's good." A faint blush colored Yin's cheeks. "Oh, thank you." Silence fell over them again, but this time, it didn't feel quite as cold. Suddenly, Jungkook stopped eating and looked at Yin seriously. "You don't have to force yourself to do all this." Yin froze. "What do you mean?" "I know you're doing this because your parents told you to." Yin's mood instantly shattered. It felt like someone had just poured a bucket of ice water over her. Without finishing her meal, she stood up abruptly. "I'm full," she said coldly, then walked away, leaving Jungkook stunned. Yin hurried upstairs to the bedroom, her steps heavy, her breathing uneven as she struggled to contain her emotions. The moment the bathroom door closed, she turned the lock with trembling fingers. The silence inside, broken only by the steady drip from the faucet, made the feelings she had been holding back all evening suddenly burst out. Tears streamed down her face. She stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her face looked exhausted, her eyes reddened, and the forced smile she'd worn at dinner had vanished without a trace. "Stupid," she whispered faintly to herself. "Why did I think he would appreciate my effort?" Yin wiped her tears roughly, but it only left red streaks on her cheeks. "He can't even see my sincerity. He thinks I'm forcing myself to do this? So he thinks I'm just pretending to be nice?" Her voice trembled, almost breaking at the end. "Is that really how lowly he thinks of me?" Her head dropped as fresh tears spilled despite her attempt to hold them back. All the effort she'd made that evening, swallowing her pride, cooking for her husband for the first time since their marriage, hoping, even just a little, for a genuine smile from him, collapsed because of one cold sentence. Yin remembered how carefully she had set the dinner table, even lighting small candles to create a warmer atmosphere. In her heart, she had imagined Jungkook smiling, or at least saying thank you, but that hope had been far too naive. "Why am I like this? Why am I hoping for something from someone who won't even try to fix our relationship?" she murmured, her voice drowned in sobs. She exhaled shakily, trying to steady herself, then turned on the faucet and splashed her face again and again. Yet the cold water did nothing to cool the burning anger and sorrow in her chest. Her body trembled, caught between anger, disappointment, and heartbreak, all tangled together. When she looked into the mirror again, her eyes glimmered with resolve behind a haze of tears. "I won't let him make me feel small," she whispered to her own reflection. "If he thinks I'm pretending, fine. From now on, I won't even try. Let him see for himself." But deep down, Yin knew those words were nothing but a shield. Her heart was far too fragile tonight, fragile because, despite everything she cared, fragile because, deep inside, she longed for a warm marriage, a real marriage. And she thought that by trying to take the first step, something might change, but it hadn't. Meanwhile, in the dining room, Jungkook watched Yin leave with mixed feelings. He continued eating, but his thoughts drifted back to the conversation at the office earlier that afternoon. Flashback. A luxurious director's office overlooking the city from the 50th floor. Jungkook's father and Yin's father sat on leather sofas, discussing their business expansion in Singapore. "The Marina Bay project is already 80% complete," Jungkook's father said, showing a report. "Good, our investment is paying off," Yin's father replied with a satisfied nod. When the business discussion ended, Yin's father patted Jungkook on the shoulder. "How's married life, Jungkook?" Jungkook hesitated for a moment. "It's fine, Dad." Yin's father gave a faint, knowing smile. "I know my daughter. Yin can be stubborn and a little sensitive, but deep down, she's a very kind and loving girl." "Yes, Dad." "Has Yin ever cooked for you?" Jungkook shook his head. "Not yet." Yin's father sighed. "I'll tell her to cook for you sometime. Yin's cooking is delicious, you know." "No, Dad." Jungkook quickly shook his head. "Please don't pressure Yin to do something troublesome. We have maids at home anyway. Let Yin rest after spending all day managing her boutique." But Yin's father just laughed. "You really don't know." do you? Cooking isn't a burden for her. She's loved it since she was a child. She always helped her mom in the kitchen. Her food is wonderful, not like fancy restaurant dishes, but the kind of homemade meals that feel warm and full of love. Flashback ends. Jungkook let out a deep sigh as he continued eating. It turned out his father-in-law was right. Yin's cooking really was incredible, far better than the dishes prepared by their professional maids. The next morning, Sunday, Jungkook had to go to his uncle's mansion to discuss the family's business expansion plans into the European market. As soon as Jungkook stepped into the spacious living room, decorated with Persian carpets and sunlight filtering softly through sheer curtains, a cheerful voice called out to him. "Jungkook," Yuju exclaimed, "what brings you here so early in the morning?" "Business with uncle," Jungkook replied flatly, sinking into the leather sofa with a quiet sigh. Not long after, the business discussion began. Jungkook and his uncle sat together, going over numbers, distribution strategies, and upcoming meetings with German partners. After nearly an hour of discussion, the meeting finally wrapped up, and his uncle left the room to take a phone call. That was when Yuju, ever curious and full of energy, bounded over with sparkling eyes. "Jungkook, I have to ask you something." "What now?" Jungkook looked at her, puzzled. "What was Yin doing last night?" Jungkook frowned. "Why are you asking that?" "Just answer first," Yuju pressed, trying to hide a knowing smile. Jungkook exhaled, his mind wandering back to last night, the image of Yin at the dining table, her face a little nervous but forcing a smile, and the warmth of her cooking that lingered long after. She cooked. Seriously, Yuju nearly shouted, covering her mouth to keep from being too loud. So she really did what Grandma Youngja predicted. "What prediction?" Jungkook asked, brows furrowing deeper. Yuju immediately launched into a long story about their visit to a fortune teller the day before, about the old woman who told Yin, "Do something you've always wanted to do every night, but still haven't done." Jungkook listened carefully, piecing together the fragments with what had happened the night before, even though part of him couldn't help but find it amusing. These two actually visited a place like that? So, that old woman said Yin had to do something she's always wanted to do every night but never did, and she chose to cook. Jungkook murmured slowly, almost to himself. "Exactly, which means," Yuju pointed at Jungkook, eyes gleaming, "Yin actually wants to cook for you every night, but she's either too shy or has never dared to do it." Jungkook fell silent for a long moment. A strange feeling welled up in his chest, a tightness he couldn't quite name. Last night, he had assumed Yin only cooked because her parents forced her to, but now, it had been her own desire all along? His heart clenched. The image of Yin's disappointed, icy face as she walked away from the dinner table replayed vividly in his mind. On the drive home, the car felt eerily quiet. The hum of the engine was faint, but Jungkook's thoughts were louder than anything around him. His hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, eyes locked on the road, while Yuju's words kept echoing in his head. "It means Yin wants to cook for you every night." Those words kept repeating, over and over. If that was true, how could he have been so foolish to think it was just an obligation? Why was his first reaction to say something that hurt her? At a red light, Jungkook closed his eyes for a brief moment. He could see Yin again, her gaze lowered at the dinner table, the faint smile she forced on her lips, the coldness in her steps as she walked away. All of it burned in his chest. For the first time since their marriage, Jungkook asked himself, "Why do I always keep my distance? Why am I afraid to show that I care?" The light turned green. The car moved forward again. But Jungkook knew one thing for certain. He had to do something. Starting today, he couldn't let Yin feel alone anymore. When he arrived at the mansion, Jungkook saw Yin sitting alone on their bedroom balcony, gazing at the late afternoon sky while holding a cup of tea. Jungkook walked closer. "May I sit?" Yin turned, a little surprised. "Go ahead." Jungkook took the seat beside her. The cool evening breeze carried the soft scent of jasmine from the garden. "Yin," Jungkook said quietly, "I'm sorry for what I said last night." Yin looked at him with still cold eyes. "Forget it, it's fine." "No, I mean it." Jungkook sighed. "I thought you cooked because your parents told you to. That's why I said you didn't have to force yourself. I didn't want you to get tired." Yin stayed silent, listening intently. "I just didn't want you overworked after running your boutique all day. I know how hard it is to build a business from scratch," Jungkook continued, his voice softer now. "Yesterday afternoon, your dad came to my office, and we were there with my dad too, discussing our ongoing project in Singapore. That's when your dad said he'd ask you to cook for me, because he said your cooking is really good." Jungkook paused. "So I assumed he told you to do it. I didn't want to trouble you when we already have maids at home." Yin's heart began to soften. So Jungkook hadn't meant to belittle her effort. He actually had a reason for misunderstanding. Jungkook, Yin finally said, last night I cooked. Not because anyone told me to. Jungkook looked at her with full attention. I really do love cooking, even if it's just simple home food. And honestly, Yin felt her cheeks grow warm. Honestly, I wanted to cook for my husband, but because our relationship is, well, like this, I held myself back. Jungkook felt his chest tighten at her honest confession. Yin, I know our marriage isn't built on love, but I still want to try to be a good wife. I just didn't know how, when my own husband keeps being so cold to me. Silence surrounded them. Jungkook felt something unfamiliar in his chest, tight, yet warm at the same time. I was wrong, Jungkook finally said. I was so focused on keeping my distance that I didn't see your effort. Yin turned to look at him. For the first time, she saw a gentle expression on her husband's face. From now on, Jungkook reached out and held Yin's cold hand. Let's try to be a real couple, not just husband and wife on paper. Yin felt warmth spread from his touch. Her heart raced, a sweet, unfamiliar rhythm she found herself liking. Are you sure? Yin whispered. Instead of answering, Jungkook slowly leaned closer. His eyes locked onto hers, silently asking for permission. Yin didn't pull away. She closed her eyes as Jungkook's lips met hers in a soft kiss. Their first real kiss as husband and wife, not the cold, obligatory one at the altar, but one that was genuine and full of feeling. When they pulled away, both their faces were flushed. Turns out we're both selfish, Jungkook said with a smile, the first sincere smile Yin had ever seen from him. Selfish how? We both wanted a harmonious marriage, but we were too proud to take the first step, Jungkook replied, brushing Yin's cheek with his thumb. Yin let out a small laugh, the first genuine laugh since their wedding. You're right, I wanted to get closer to you too, but I was afraid of being rejected. Dummy, Jungkook said, playfully pinching her nose. You're my wife. What husband would reject his own wife? Well, you've been so cold, like a walking refrigerator, Yin protested, lightly hitting his arm. I thought you hated me. That's why I kept my distance, Jungkook replied with a grin. And I thought you still saw me as an annoying rival, Yin added. They both burst out laughing, a sound that hadn't been heard in the cold mansion for a very long time. Before long, their laughter faded, leaving a slight awkwardness between them. It was only natural, since this was the first time they had ever been this close. Yet once again, Jungkook leaned in, this time pressing a long kiss to Yin's forehead. And once again, Yin didn't pull away. She even closed her eyes on purpose, savoring every bit of Jungkook's warmth toward her. Thank you for cooking for me last night. I'm sorry I'm saying this late, but I won't ever complain if you want to cook for me again. I'd be really happy, and I'd definitely eat it. Your food is the best home cooking I've ever had. Yin blushed at his words. In that case, from now on, I'll cook for you more often. Jungkook nodded with a warm smile. Thank you, baby, and I'll love it every time. Yin's face flushed even deeper, heat spreading all the way to her ears at hearing Jungkook call her that. That night, after a warm dinner, where Yin once again cooked one of his favorite simple dishes, the two of them headed upstairs. Usually, their routine was always the same, a brief goodnight, then they'd turn their backs on each other and fall asleep, each lost in their own thoughts. But tonight felt different. Once the bedroom lights were dimmed and they lay in bed, Jungkook didn't immediately turn away as usual. Instead, he shifted to face Yin. Still full? Jungkook asked softly, his voice warm against the quiet of the night. Very full, Yin replied with a small smile. But you ate so much earlier. I'm afraid you won't sleep well tonight. Jungkook chuckled. With food that good, how could I stop? Yin simply shook her head, her smile widening. Their conversation flowed easily, about little, unimportant things. Yin listened with soft eyes, and Jungkook suddenly realized how comforting it felt to talk with no walls between them. Without even realizing it, Jungkook reached for Yin's hand and held it over the blanket. Yin was startled for a second, but didn't pull away. Instead, she let his fingers intertwine tightly with hers. Yin, Jungkook murmured. Yin turned, their eyes meeting in the soft glow of the lamp. He leaned closer, at first just to make sure the distance between them wasn't as wide as it used to be. Sliding his arm beneath her, he gently pulled her into his embrace. Yin's heart pounded, but she didn't resist. In fact, her body felt perfectly at home in his warmth. Can I? Jungkook hesitated, then whispered, kiss you again? Yin didn't answer with words. She only looked at him for a few seconds before slowly closing her eyes. That was all the answer he needed. Jungkook kissed her lips softly, carefully, as if the moment might shatter if he rushed it. Yin kissed him back, shy but sincere. When they finally parted, Jungkook gave a small tender smile, the kind that made Yin's cheeks flush. But he didn't stop there. He leaned in again, this time kissing her deeper, longer. His arm tightened around her waist, and Yin didn't resist. Her fingers curled into his pajama shirt, holding him closer. The room felt warm and fluid, every breath loud in their ears. Yin let out a tiny laugh, and Jungkook playfully pinched the tip of her nose between kisses. "Why are you laughing?" Jungkook asked with a grin, his breath still close to her lips. "You're not as cold as I thought," Yin whispered shyly. Jungkook brushed her warm cheek with his thumb. "And you, they are braver than I expected." They both laughed softly again, and without another word, Jungkook kissed her once more, deeper, full of feeling. But when he paused and started to pull back, Yin's hand stopped him. Their breaths mingled, still close. "Don't stop," she whispered, her voice soft but clear in Jungkook's ears. Jungkook knew exactly what she meant, but he wanted to be sure. "Are you sure, baby? Are you really ready? Don't ask me to stop halfway." Without answering, this time it was Yin who kissed Jungkook, a deep kiss, yet filled with longing, and that alone was enough to be his answer. That night, for the first time, there was no distance between them. Beneath the thick blanket, the long-buried warmth finally found its way out, and when they both drifted off to sleep, Jungkook and Yin wore the same faint smile, the smile of two hearts finally beating in sync. 3 weeks later, as evening began to fall, Yin's boutique was bathed in warm light and the faint scent of new fabric. Yin was tidying up a customer's custom dress when her phone buzzed. A message popped up from Yuju. "Yin, I just officially started dating the son of the orphanage owner I always send food to." Yin froze, staring at her phone screen for a long moment before a small smile formed on her lips. "Oh my, so Grandma Youngjae's words were true?" she murmured softly. Now, Yin was truly confused. Should she believe the fortune teller or not?